Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where everyone wants to be seen. Everyone's talking, tweeting, snapping, posting. But let me tell you something powerful. Growth doesn't happen in the spotlight, it happens in the shadows. Focusing on yourself is not about neglecting others or living in isolation. It's about recognizing that you are your own greatest asset. Too many people go through life trying to fix everything around them while ignoring the one thing they actually have control over, themselves. You cannot give what you do not possess. You can't teach confidence if you don't have it. You can't inspire discipline if your life is in disarray. You can't lead others if you haven't first learned how to lead yourself. Everything begins with you. Your habits, your mindset, your attitude, and your energy. They shape the world you experience. If you don't value yourself enough to invest in your own growth, then don't expect the world to place a higher value on you than you place on yourself. People treat you according to the standard you set for your life. And if you don't focus on yourself and raise that standard, then by default you settle for what's average, what's easy, what's common. That's not what you were created for. You were designed to dominate in your calling, to rise above mediocrity, to lead with purpose and power, but it starts with focus. You have to be willing to look in the mirror and say, I am the project. I am the assignment. I am the priority. When you begin to focus on yourself, you start to see where your time has been wasted, where your energy has been drained, and where your opportunities have been missed. You begin to realize that the real enemy of your destiny isn't always external, it's often internal. It's not the world against you. It's the distraction inside you, the self-doubt inside you, the procrastination you tolerate, the standards you've compromised. It's the moments when you knew what you should have done, but didn't do it because you were too distracted trying to please others or avoid discomfort. That's why self-focus is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's a decision to stop outsourcing your power to other people, stop blaming your past for your present, and stop expecting change without taking full ownership of your life. Focusing on yourself requires a kind of courage that many people avoid because it forces you to take responsibility. It means you can't play the victim anymore. It means you can't make excuses. It means you have to take inventory of your habits, your thinking, your daily choices. Are they aligned with where you want to go, or are they the very things keeping you stuck where you are? You cannot rise above the level of your own self-awareness. And self-awareness doesn't come by accident. It comes through intentional focus. You begin to study yourself like an entrepreneur studies their business. You look at what's working and what's not. You eliminate what's draining your value and double down on what's bringing growth. You stop comparing yourself to other people and start competing only with the person you were yesterday. You stop seeking validation and start creating transformation. People will always have opinions about your journey. Some will misunderstand your focus. Some will call it selfishness. But that's only because they've never seen what it looks like when someone commits to becoming the highest version of themselves. They've never understood that focusing on yourself is not about becoming arrogant, it's about becoming accountable. When you take full responsibility for your life, you stop waiting on someone else to change your circumstances. You become the change. You stop waiting for permission to grow. You authorize yourself. You stop saying one day and start saying day one. You focus because you realize your time is not refundable. You focus because you know your purpose is too valuable to waste. You focus because you understand that no one is coming to do the work for you. You must become the architect of your own transformation. Energy flows where attention goes. That is not just a phrase. It is a principle that governs every area of your life. Where you direct your attention, your energy follows. If you constantly focus on problems, you will drain your energy trying to manage stress and anxiety. If you focus on people who disrespect your time, your energy will be consumed trying to chase validation. If your attention is scattered across distractions, entertainment, negativity, and other people's opinions, then you will live with a constant sense of exhaustion, not because you're doing too much, but because you're focusing on the wrong things. The human mind is powerful, and where the mind goes, the body and spirit follow. If you want to shift your life, you must shift your focus. You must become ruthless with your attention. You must treat it like the rare and valuable resource it is, because once it's spent, you don't get it back. Most people think time is their most valuable asset, but the truth is, energy is even more important. Time without energy is useless. You can have all the time in the world, but if you don't have the energy to use it wisely, it becomes wasted. That's why some people can do more in 1 hour than others do in a full day. It's not because they have more time, it's because they have better focus. Their energy is aligned with their vision. Their attention is on the things that matter. They are not scrolling through distractions or getting pulled into gossip or letting emotions hijack their priorities. They've learned to protect their focus because they understand that energy is finite. Once you give it away to something meaningless, it's gone. And the return on that investment is always regret. The real war is not external, it's internal. It's the battle for your focus. Everything in today's world is designed to hijack your attention. Notifications, entertainment, news cycles, opinions, comparison. All of it exists to keep you externally focused and internally confused. If you don't take control of your focus, someone else will. That's why you need to shift your energy back to yourself, back to your goals, back to the mission you've been assigned. Stop trying to keep up with people who aren't going where you're going. Stop trying to impress people who don't even respect your calling. Redirect that energy, refocus your mind, discipline your attention like a warrior sharpens their sword. Because if you don't, your purpose will suffer and your power will be diluted. Energy is not just physical, it's mental, emotional, and spiritual. When your attention is divided, your energy becomes diluted. But when your attention is aligned, your energy becomes explosive. That's when breakthroughs happen. That's when progress accelerates. That's when doors begin to open, not because circumstances changed, but because your focus changed. You started paying attention to what feeds you. You stopped investing in cycles that go nowhere. You stopped pouring into relationships that never pour back. You started preserving your power and placing it only where it matters. People will wonder how you changed so fast. They'll ask what you're doing differently. But it won't be about doing more. It'll be about focusing better. You will stop trying to be everything to everyone and start being everything you were meant to be. You will shift your energy from the external chaos to internal clarity. You will stop fighting battles that aren't yours and start winning the battles that are. You'll recognize that your peace, your productivity, your purpose, all of it is tied to where your focus goes. Every goal, every breakthrough, every victory begins with a shift in focus. It begins with a decision to reclaim your energy and direct it with intention. It begins with refusing to be distracted, refusing to be pulled in 1,000 directions, refusing to leak power through divided attention. That's when your focus becomes a force. That's when your energy starts working for you instead of against you. Self-mastery precedes world mastery. Before you can lead a team, build a business, or influence a community, you must learn to lead yourself. The outer world is a reflection of the inner world. If your mind is cluttered, your life will reflect confusion. If your emotions are uncontrolled, your decisions will be reactive. If your habits are undisciplined, your results will be inconsistent. Everything begins within. The mistake most people make is trying to control circumstances before they've controlled character. They want the results without the responsibility. They want the spotlight without the self-discipline. They want to influence others without having influence over their own impulses. But leadership starts at home, and the home of leadership is the inner self. The journey of self-mastery is not glamorous. It's not loud. It doesn't seek applause. It happens in silence, in the early mornings when no one is watching, in the decisions you make when nobody will hold you accountable but you. It's choosing growth over comfort. It's doing the hard thing even when it's inconvenient. It's saying no to short-term pleasure so you can say yes to long-term purpose. It's observing your thoughts instead of being ruled by them. It's being honest with yourself even when the truth is uncomfortable. Self-mastery is not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about deciding that your actions will be guided by your principles, not your preferences. Every person who has achieved something meaningful has first gone through the crucible of personal discipline. They've confronted their fears. They've silenced the voice of doubt. They've built routines that protect their focus and fuel their energy. They've trained their mind to see challenges as opportunities and setbacks as setups. They've learned to regulate their emotions so that pressure doesn't break them, it builds them. They've made a habit of consistency, knowing that consistency compounds. These are not superhumans. They're people who made a decision to master themselves before they tried to master anything else. The world offers 1,000 distractions, temptations to drift, to delay, to detour. And if you haven't built the inner strength to stay focused, you'll fall for everything. You'll say yes to things that pull you off course. You'll tolerate behavior that sabotages your values. You'll chase validation and lose your vision. But when you master yourself, you operate from a position of alignment. You don't need to be pushed because you're driven by purpose. You don't chase trends because you're rooted in truth. You don't compromise because you've already committed. Mastery gives you freedom. Not the kind of freedom that says do whatever you want, but the kind of freedom that says I am in control of what I choose and I choose wisely. Mastery also demands awareness. You must know your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. You must know your patterns so you can interrupt them. You must know your triggers so you can disarm them. Most people are unaware of how their daily habits are shaping their destiny. They live on autopilot, wondering why nothing changes. But the masters know that transformation begins in the smallest choices. It's in how you start your morning, how you talk to yourself, how you handle stress, how you respond to adversity. Every moment is a training ground. Every decision is a seed. Self-mastery is watering the right seeds every single day. You don't have to have all the answers to master yourself. You just have to be committed to the process. It's a process of confronting the truth, embracing discomfort, and sharpening your edge. You cannot lead others beyond the level you've led yourself. You cannot expect excellence externally if you tolerate mediocrity. Your results will always reveal your rituals. Your fruit will always reveal your root. That's why self-mastery must come first. It's the foundation upon which everything else is built. It's the standard that sustains success. It's the armor that protects your purpose. It's the compass that keeps you on course no matter what chaos surrounds you. Cut the noise, increase the signal. In today's world, you are bombarded with endless input. Opinions, trends, breaking news, viral posts, and nonstop notifications. Every second, something is trying to hijack your attention. If you're not careful, your mind becomes so cluttered with mental noise that you can't hear the voice of purpose anymore. You can't distinguish what really matters from what's just loud. That's the danger of living distracted. It makes you reactive instead of intentional. It pulls you into other people's priorities and away from your own. The signal is your purpose, your calling, your mission, your reason for getting up in the morning. The noise is everything that competes with that signal, trying to drown it out. You don't rise by adding more noise, you rise by cutting it off. Noise doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it comes dressed as opportunity. It looks like a new project that doesn't align with your goals. It looks like someone else's dream that you've mistaken for your own. It looks like a schedule filled with movement but void of progress. You can be busy and still be distracted. You can be surrounded by people and still be disconnected from your assignment. You can be active and still be unproductive if your activity is unaligned. That's why you must learn to cut. Cut what doesn't serve your purpose. Cut what drains your energy. Cut the habits that don't reflect your standards. Cut the relationships that celebrate your potential but reject your progress. Cut the environments that require you to shrink in order to fit. Cutting is not about being cold, it's about being clear. When you become clear about who you are and what you're called to do, you stop entertaining distractions disguised as opportunities. The more you cut the noise, the more you hear the signal. That signal comes through in the quiet. It's the idea that comes to you when you're off the grid. It's the conviction you feel when you're being honest with yourself. It's the whisper that tells you to keep going when everything in your life says stop. That signal is clarity. It's insight. It's divine direction. But it can't speak louder than the noise unless you decide to silence the unnecessary. You can't find clarity in a crowd of conflicting inputs. You can't hear wisdom when your mind is drowning in the chatter of comparison. You can't build anything great when you're distracted by everything small. You have to protect your peace so you can hear your purpose clearly. People often confuse loudness with significance. Just because something is trending doesn't mean it's true. Just because something is urgent doesn't mean it's important. Just because someone else is doing it doesn't mean you're supposed to. You were not designed to follow the noise. You were designed to tune into the signal that was planted in you from the beginning. And tuning in requires discipline. It requires time away from the crowd. It requires the courage to be different. It requires the strength to say no without apology. It requires structure around your time, boundaries around your energy, and filters around your focus. If everything gets your attention, nothing will have your attention long enough to grow. Cutting the noise also includes the mental chatter, the overthinking, the fear, the inner critic, the worry about outcomes you can't control. You can't move in power when your thoughts are stuck in hesitation. You can't act with clarity when your mind is constantly second-guessing your worth. You've got to make room for clarity to take. That means letting go of mental junk. That means detoxing your attention span. That means being present with what matters. Because focus is not about how much you look at, it's about what you refuse to look away from. When you reduce the noise, you amplify the power of that focus. You increase the strength of your intention. You create space for results to flow. You begin to move with accuracy. You stop wasting motion and start moving with mission. And that's where the shift begins. Not by doing more, but by hearing more of what matters. You were not created to merely exist. You were created to expand. But expansion doesn't happen by accident, and it definitely doesn't happen when your energy is divided, your focus is scattered, and your direction is unclear. The human spirit is designed to grow, but only under the right conditions. Just like a seed cannot grow in contaminated soil, your potential cannot thrive in a toxic environment. You can't elevate your life while remaining surrounded by influences that normalize mediocrity, that celebrate distraction, that criticize ambition, or that drain your energy with negativity and drama. Your environment shapes your identity, and your identity shapes your future. So if you want a different future, you have to shift more than your actions. You have to shift your atmosphere. Expansion begins when you start protecting your inner environment like it's sacred. Your mind is sacred. Your energy is sacred. Your vision is sacred. Not everyone has the right to speak into your life. Not everything deserves a seat at your table. Just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's beneficial. Just because someone has history with you doesn't mean they have destiny with you. Holding on to what's comfortable can often become the very reason you remain stuck. Growth requires space. Space to think, space to create, space to recalibrate, space to hear the whisper of purpose that often gets drowned out in the crowd of opinions. Most people want expansion, but few are willing to create the conditions for it. They want more success, but they won't upgrade their habits. They want more clarity, but they refuse to sit in silence. They want more opportunities, but they aren't willing to release old attachments. Expansion demands elimination. It demands subtraction before multiplication. You've got to prune the unnecessary to create room for what's essential. You've got to release what's good to make space for what's great. Expansion happens when you stop settling for the version of yourself that fits in and start becoming the version of yourself that breaks through. It's not enough to just visualize the future you want. You have to align your actions, your routines, your energy, and your standards with that future. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start becoming the person that moment is looking for. Be disciplined in your time. Be intentional with your words. Be selective with your influences. Your future is not waiting on the right circumstances. It's waiting on the right version of you to show up. A version that doesn't complain about the process but commits to it. A version that doesn't shrink when it gets hard but sharpens. A version that doesn't chase trends but builds principles that last. Expansion is not loud. It doesn't always look impressive in the beginning. Sometimes it looks like waking up early when you'd rather sleep. Sometimes it looks like saying no to comfort so you can say yes to calling. Sometimes it looks like spending seasons in solitude so you can emerge with clarity. It's not about who claps for you. It's about what you're building when no one is watching. It's about becoming unshakable in your character, unbreakable in your faith, and unstoppable in your focus. That's what sets apart those who wish from those who win. The winners understand that expansion is not a moment, it's a mindset. It's a way of living. It's a daily decision to grow beyond what is familiar and step into what is possible. You cannot expand your life without first expanding your mind. You must think higher, believe bigger, and act bolder. That means leaving behind the limited language that keeps you boxed in. That means refusing to partner with fear or entertain excuses. That means showing up with excellence even when no one is applauding. Expansion comes when you shift from reacting to life to designing it. It comes when you stop asking for permission and start operating with authority. It comes when you silence the distractions and amplify the vision. And when you live from that place, expansion becomes inevitable. You don't chase growth, you become it. One of the greatest shifts you will ever make in your life is the decision to stop outsourcing your power. Most people live in reaction mode, constantly responding to what others think, say, or expect. They hand over their energy to opinions, circumstances, setbacks, and past mistakes, never realizing they are giving away the very power they need to create change. The moment you decide to stop waiting for validation, approval, or ideal conditions is the moment you reclaim your ability to move forward on your own terms. Life is not waiting to give you permission. It's waiting for you to show up with conviction. And that conviction starts when you recognize that you are the source, not the victim. Responsibility is not a burden. It's a blessing. It means you are no longer controlled by what happens outside of you. It means you can shape your response. You can shift your mindset. You can decide how you interpret pain, and you can choose how you use pressure. That's where true power lives, not in control over everything, but in control over how you respond to anything. People who live with power don't wait to feel inspired. They create habits that generate inspiration. They don't wait to feel confident. They move in courage until confidence catches up. They don't complain about the obstacles. They study them, overcome them, and turn them into strategy. They don't let fear be the loudest voice. They turn fear into fuel. You cannot operate at a high level if your emotions are running the show. You have to learn to process pain without becoming it. You have to understand how to feel your emotions without letting them hijack your momentum. Power comes from emotional regulation. It comes from knowing that peace is a choice you make, not a prize you wait to receive. You don't protect your energy by avoiding challenges. You protect it by becoming the kind of person who knows how to navigate through them without breaking. You build power when you develop perspective. You build it when you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I create from this? Every challenge carries within it the seed of breakthrough. Every closed door is a redirection, not a rejection. But you'll never recognize the opportunity if your mindset is still stuck in survival. You've got to upgrade your thinking. You've got to stop speaking the language of limitation. You've got to quit rehearsing defeat and start declaring destiny. Words carry energy. When you speak in alignment with fear, you weaken yourself. But when you speak in alignment with faith, you activate power. You become magnetic when your energy matches your intention. You start attracting solutions, connections, and opportunities, not because of luck, but because of alignment. You were not designed to carry guilt from the past, worry about the future, and still be powerful in the present. Your power is always in the now. That means you must become intentional with how you show up. Stop reliving past mistakes. Stop replaying old conversations. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Start deciding who you want to be today and align every action with that decision. Power is not about control. It's about clarity. Clarity about who you are, what you value, where you're going, and what you're no longer tolerating. When you're clear, distractions lose their power. When you're clear, fear becomes irrelevant. When you're clear, excuses get exposed for what they are. Power is multiplied through consistency. The decision to show up every day, even when you don't feel like it, is the difference between people who want transformation and people who live it. Discipline amplifies your power. Focus directs it. Belief sustains it. You cannot afford to leak power into things that don't matter. You cannot afford to waste energy on narratives that keep you small. You have to guard your focus like a gate and only allow in what builds you, what elevates you, and what aligns with the future you're building. That's how you shift from being drained by life to being driven by purpose. That's how you stop reacting to life and start responding with authority. That's how you make your presence powerful before you ever say a word. It's not about waiting for a perfect day. It's about showing up as a powerful person regardless of the day.